Good evening, I'm Bailo Jallo and welcome to Sheffield Live. You are watching African Voices, a show where we tend to discuss the achievements and also the issues affecting Africans in this country and abroad. And on today's show, we'll be discussing the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country that is dubbed as one of the richest on earth, but also one of the poorest due to slavery, colonialism, and most recently, corruption. So, as you will know, the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country that has about 82 million in terms of population, recently had their election on the 30th of December, to be specific. The election was peaceful, but up to now, no result or final result has been given yet. A provisional result has been out, which one of the opposition leaders was declared the winner. But we'll get to that. First of all, I would like to introduce our guests, or those who are here today to help me discuss this beautiful country, which is Congo. So, to my left, we've got Dr. Kululeku Sibanda, who is our political guru here, as usual. And next to him is Chiwe Chihana, who is next to Dr. Kululeku to help us discuss the Congo today. So Chiwe, if I may start with you, as you will know, recently the election in Congo, what's your take on it and the way things are rolling?
Congo is one of the countries that I think I always have a huge light of hope for, because there's so much that Congo could become, and it wouldn't just be to the benefit of Congo, it would be to the benefit of the African continent, if I'm honest. So I think what Congo has experienced in over 59 years and what it could potentially be should really have been defined by the elections that took place in December. And I'm afraid at this moment I'm displeased with how things have actually turned out. To start with, the election results were already being contested. There was a huge delay, as we've seen in quite a lot of African countries, before allegations of rigging, before the election results themselves were announced, and official reports, for example, by Reuters, which I think is quite a reliable source, were already reporting of President Kabila meeting up with the now announced winner of the presidential elections. Mm-hmm. We don't know what kind of deal was struck there, but there was that meeting that happened just slightly before Seni, the electoral body, announced those results. So I think I am quite disappointed that we're back on this track, because I was quite optimistic, I was expectant, and it remains to be seen where we're going to go with this.
Sibanda, what's your take on it?
Well, look, I'll stand my ground to say that I'm a little bit disappointed that we're having to travel this road again, where you have yet another election on the African continent that is not conclusive, another election that is subject to conspiracy, and that costs the African continent quite a bit. The conditions that are necessary for people to do business, conditions in which you have a completely legitimate government. Contested election results such as these ones always produce an aura of illegitimacy. Yes. And because of that, it makes establishing a business, even for locals, under those under such an environment, something of a higher risk, and therefore puts us in a bad place and puts the country in a bad place economically. But it's a political solution, really. I think that with my experience now, it would be better to always have an election after you've established the complete independence of the electoral bodies, so that the results you get are results you can believe and you can trust. I would suggest, now they've suggested for Congo, that they should have brought in the United Nations to do the elections. You have somebody completely independent running the elections, so that in the meantime, you surely are assured that whatever the people want is what comes out. Even if I don't like a president, but if they are elected freely and fairly for that term of office, I should be able to respect that, that the majority of my country people wanted that person. But in this case, what do we know? Is this the result of the election, or is it a deal struck between Tshisekedi and Kabila? You know, that's now up to anyone's guess. It should never be like that, and we should find ways to ensure that doesn't happen.
Talking of the deal, we'll come into that in a minute, but let's put this into context, the whole election itself. As all of us know, Kabila has been there for 18 years, and there has been delays and delays for the election to be held. But at the end, he accepted that there was going to be a free and fair election. He decided to step aside. So in terms of the two candidates, or the two main opposition leaders, Felix Tshisekedi, who has been announced as the provisional winner for the meantime, and Fayulu as well, Martin Fayulu, who was the other opposition leader who has contested the result. Because as we can see now, the person that from the incumbent government, he came third, and that person did not even contest anything. But in terms of Felix Tshisekedi, as you guys were saying earlier, the deal that they are saying has been struck between Joseph Kabila and Tshisekedi before Martin Fayulu contested it. Is there any hope here? I will say hope, because Kabila to accept the election to be held, being there for 18 years, now that it is someone different, someone who is in the opposition that will be coming into power, be it Martin Fayulu or Felix Tshisekedi, is there any hope for the country?
Can I take that one?
Yeah, sure.
So I think I'm going to remain optimistic for different reasons that might not be obvious at this point. But I'm going to be optimistic in the sense that I think this election might actually be nullified. SADC has had a turn, which is the regional bloc for the Southern African region. So they've had a turn and actually put the election results into question, and they've called for a recount to start with. But remember, right from the very beginning, the Catholic Church, which is quite big in the Congo DRC, had 40,000 agents at every single polling station. So they had more people at every polling station than the actual government actually did, the ruling party rather, and other political parties and other independent bodies. So they covered the whole country. And they had parallel results that actually indicate a different result.
But talking of that, though, they did not announce who won.
They've chosen not to announce, I suppose, because I guess for political reasons as well.
But if they are very influential in the country, for the country's interest, do you think they should have said, this is the result that we have?
They are not the Electoral Commission. They are not the Electoral Commission of that country.
Yeah, but now the Electoral Commission has announced its result.
Yes.
Do you think they were meant to at least to say, this is the result that we had? Let people see if there is any...
What I think the Catholic Church is doing as a religious organization is that they're playing it safe so they don't fuel the embers of conflict that already exists in Congo, and obviously will just be enhanced by what has happened with the elections. But the Financial Times, about 5-6 hours ago, has actually got some solid statistics from 2 different databases. I imagine one of those would be the Catholic database, which actually shows that Fayulu had 59% of the results, and Tshisekedi got only 19% of the results. I would be skeptical if somebody told me it was one of those databases, one of the 2 main databases was not the Catholic one.
So, Sibanda, we've seen here Congo's main ally, which is South Africa and Angola. Those 2 countries have followed what SADC said, even though they are part of SADC, to say there should be a recount. And over the years, South Africa has been very loyal to Joseph Kabila in terms of negotiations or cooperations between the two countries. So Mr. Kabila will be going either way, be it Fayulu or Tshisekedi. Do you think what has happened in the Congo, because that country is very rich in natural resources, as we mentioned, is there any hope for the country? I will ask you that same question that I asked Chiwe.
Well, look, there's I mean, my friend here is optimistic. I'm not optimistic. I think that, you know, when part of the things that Sadiq is saying is that they would like to try and help the country establish a government of national unity. And that is not how governments should be run. You know, running a government is an ideological thing. You have a way, you have to, if you want to run government, you have to believe before you even run government that this is how I believe we attain the greater good. And when you then always have a compromised government, then it means that this government is not run by ideas, it is run by the fact that there are two people who want to share power. And that stifles progress, because progress is based on ideas. Ideas give us progress to move forward. And those ideas must always be allowed to be contesting each other. So when you have the two major parties in government, then you don't have anyone outside them contesting them, pushing them to do things. And you have limited progress. And for that reason, I'm not optimistic, because there's nothing in here or in what might happen that tells me that there will be, for the next 5 years, a reason for a contestation of ideas. Look, I'm from, my president, Nelson Chamisa School of Thought. We need to push Africa to a place where ideas lead rather than identities and individuals and the size of a man, his history. President Chamisa says, no, we ought to get Africa to a place where it's your ideas that are important. And I don't see how ideas are going to be allowed to take hold in Congo after a circled gentleman's agreement. Is this something with Zimbabwe?
But looking at the country's history, though.
That's what's going to happen, actually, because SADC has actually retracted that now. They're not looking for a government of unity. They're just saying a recount. That's what we're looking at. But
looking at the history, of Congo, though, in terms of, you know, since it got its independence in the 50s or in the late 50s, there has not been a stable government. And it's been like 2 or 3 people coming from the same family that has been ruling the country. But now things are about to be changed. So where will you trace the blame in terms of what is happening in Congo?
Look, it's still that old style mentality, and refers back to people thinking that countries can still be run by families. We have this everywhere. I mean, Mnangagwa in Zimbabwe is running the country with his family. South Africa is a particular, and Zambia has gone in a very good direction. You don't have the same guys coming up every time. You have guys who've opposed each other getting into power. But the fact that you still have that enclave, that remaining belief that certain individuals, you see, the people who were contesting elections 40 years ago who are trying to still run the DRC, and that's a problem. In the sense that these people aren't coming up, in my view, haven't yet understood what running a government is. They still think it's about the individuals, the names, and so forth. Yeah. So I still blame our thinking as Africans in terms of why do we need a government and who should be in government? We need to do a serious shift in that way of thinking. And I go back to what Zimbabwe almost had, a golden opportunity to have a young leader who knows that he has more life after the presidency than he has before the presidency, and for that reason said, look, if we're going to do anything about this country, we're going to give it hope, and we're going to run it on good ideas.
But let's forget about Zimbabwe now.
It gives you a good example of where we should be going.
Congo, but
gives you a good example.
Yeah. Where Congo is right now, Congo is in a very delicate situation. That country is a country that is very rich in natural resources, where all the colonial masters or the Western powers are interested in that country's resources. Because we've seen over the years, Kabila has refused to conduct the election. But this time, because the Western powers wanted for the election to be held, election has been held.
How do you position that? Like, what statement is there? You can't just throw that around and
in terms of, there is fun, because at the end of the day, it is due to international pressure. It is due to international pressure that led to the election.
Okay, so international pressure, but it
Yeah,
doesn't necessarily the West.
And who is the
yeah.
international? It's America and the rest. We recently had, prior to the election, Mr. Trump saying there was no room for rigging the election.
I mean, we know that the United States they had military presence in the Congo during the elections.
And La France as well. The French
Mm-hmm.
have got a very vital interest in the country.
Yeah, so maybe that's what we need to be shifting from. You know, this allegiance to Western governments and failing to actually make decisions based on what we know is happening. We are the people that live in those countries. Those are our lived experiences. And we need to start looking at what decisions are being made, what discussions, what conversations are being had around elections and about leadership within amongst ourselves. Things like inter-country trade even, little things like that.
Yeah, but my question was whether
we give credence a lot to the West, and maybe that's what we need to start doing, to stop. We need to stop doing that.
I totally agree.
Look, Chiwa, I wouldn't have said it any better. Look, the weakest point in our lives is when we tend to look at how other people have affected us negatively and forget to look at how we have allowed them to do that. To complain about what the United States has done and to complain about what Italy has done is to forget that they have done that because we've allowed them, and that they do that because they're serving their interest. And they have every right on good Mother Earth to serve their interest. What we now should have are African leaders who understand that they too must have an interest.
No, but my point,
their countries must have an interest.
But my point was, because of their interest or because of the interest that they have in the country, there might be hope for the country. Because at the end of the day, if those countries have got vested interest in that country due to the natural resources, and the people in that country are suffering, it is due to the pressure that's leading to this change.
So to put Congo into context, right? How many years have we had United Nations peacekeepers in the Congo DRC?
For decades.
What are the statistics of United Nations peacekeepers raping women and girls in the Congo DRC? And how long has that been going on for? Secondly, to give it further, I'm just trying to talk about the sort of presence that you're talking about and the influence that we should actually be saying. But it's convenient. It's convenient not for us. It's convenient for them. And the argument here is, how can we make neo-patrimonialism go? Where you have this elite group of Africans trying to retain things just for their circle and being empowered by these people who are intruders in our continent making decisions. Congo DRC at the moment is obviously something that is a niche because 60% of cobalt is from Congo DRC, and who doesn't want that? So it's convenient for these little distractions to be taking place within that within that country.
But do you think those natural resources that you've just mentioned, as I always say, like looking at other countries as well, do you think those are a curse rather than a blessing?
Look, the way we should be careful about how we characterize that, because they're only a curse if you agree that it is naturally designed.
Look at the whole Africa as a whole. How many countries are benefiting from its natural resources, apart from Botswana, statistically?
Look, that question is important, but I think the more important question is, how many countries have leaders who can harvest the best outcomes, the best benefit from their resources?
But why are we always producing those bad leaders?
Because
we're always saying we want changes, but we're always producing the same thing.
We've already addressed that, because an outsider is able to come in and influence African politics almost entirely on the basis of the fact that they can identify what they think are strong men, not even strong women. They don't seem to consider them. And then they say, okay, we're going to choose that one over that one because that one will serve our interest as compared to that one. And why is that even possible? It is possible because our leaders are not ideas-led. Okay. If someone is ideas-led, they are not going to accept an agenda that doesn't fit into their idea and their ideology. They're going to say, look, my idea is that I should get I should get 80% of
just make it brief, because I want to ask you another question before time runs against us.
Yeah, go on.
And Chiwe, just quickly.
I was going to sort of put the ice on the cake regarding, it's good you brought in the context of the resource curse, because I think you're probably coming with that from global politics, and it's quite a sort of term that everybody is sort of using at the moment, and I understand that. But the resource curse can actually be reversed by we the people. So the reason why it's continuing where people are not benefiting is because people always look after their self-interest. They're not going there with good policy intentions and implementing them. So you find this group that's leading at the moment is not reinvesting into infrastructure that will actually process your minerals. So somebody else will still have a hold on that. So the only people that are benefiting are those. But imagine if you actually made sure that if the leaders ensured that we were reinvesting into processing and producing whatever the end results we want from the minerals that we've got, that would actually benefit us more.
So just a final one, but briefly to both of you. So what do you think we should do, or Africa should do, in order for Africa to be rebranded? And talking of Congo, you know, as it is right now.
Yeah.
What do you think should be the final solution?
How do you ask your question about Africa and then say you're talking about Congo? Listen.
No, I'm talking about especially Congo.
Okay.
Congo is not Africa. Congo is in Africa.
No, Congo is in Africa, but especially Congo. Right now, Congo is hitting all the bad headlines. That's why I said especially Congo.
Okay, so the question is, how should Africa Congo rebrand itself in order to...
Africa as a whole, but more specifically Congo. Okay. Because Congo right now...
Zimbabwe's President Nelson Chamisa, okay, has yes, you need to take that, because that's the template you need for the rest of Africa. Okay. You need to begin to...
So you think Chamisa has got the best idea for Africa right now?
No. He represents an important idea. The fact that he comes in and has no allegiances to anybody. He comes in and he says, look, I understand what people want. People want a big, strong man. No, I don't. I'm not a big, strong man. I want to lead this country, and I'll build you spaghetti roads, and I'll get you a fast train. He has ideas. He has things that he wants to do, so and he gets on with that.
Chamisa's
not
ideas.
The rubbish.
That's what you are suggesting.
Not the rubbish we have, where you have people who have no ideas at all, but they just want to lead. They have nothing that's pushing them behind.
Sure.
Okay. I feel like I should also plug my president, because I am also part of a political party in Zambia, but similar ideas to what he said. Yeah. But primarily what I think our biggest problem is we forget that we've got a younger generation that we have to leave things for, and they can take over and do things for themselves.
Absolutely.
We are not bringing the young people along in this discussion about what the future of Africa should look like, what's needed, what's required, what should be invested in, and that's very important. Let's bring those children, the young people back into...
Well, I agree with you. Unfortunately, we're going to leave it there. And next time, I'll make sure we discuss the whole Africa in general, because these two people here today, as you can see, they've got lots of ideas for what Africa should do for us to rebrand ourselves. But until next time, that was African Voices you are watching. Thank you, and have a good night. Hello, I'm Bailo Jallo. Thank you for watching African Voices on our YouTube channel. You can watch more of our contents by clicking here, and don't forget, you can also subscribe by clicking there. And every Wednesday, we're on Sheffield Live from 8 p.m. till 9 p.m. Thank you.